Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to The Lead. I'm Jake Tapper. Cease and desist. That is the order from President Trump's lawyers this afternoon as they try to plug the explosive and even disturbing details erupting in excerpts from a tell-all book that will now be published tomorrow morning. Trump's lawyers have sent these warning letters to the publisher and the author, Michael Wolff, to try to halt publication, not for national security reasons, not for state secrets that put people's lives at risk, but because the reports paint such an unflattering picture, including savage quotes about the president and his family made by people that President Trump considered allies. Or in the words of the president's lawyers, because the book includes untrue statements about the president that, quote, give rise to claims for libel that could result in substantial monetary damages and punitive damages, unquote. President Trump is demanding that the publisher cease and desist from any further publication of any excerpts or the book, and he is demanding a, quote, full and complete retraction and apology. Now, 4 facts here worth your consideration as you think about this story. First, it's easy for anyone to see why President Trump would be displeased with the content of this book. While we at CNN cannot confirm the authenticity of each line or anecdote, we can say, quite frankly, the book describes behavior that is upsetting and unbecoming of anyone, much less President Trump. Take what he allegedly said to his 29-year-old communications director, Hope Hicks. This was excerpted in British GQ today. And it's about rumors of Hicks' relationship with a former campaign staffer in which President Trump told her, according to Wolff, quote, you're the best piece of tail he'll ever have, sending Hicks running from the room. That's a disgusting and misogynistic quote. President Trump not wanting that out there? That makes sense. But, and this is our second fact, this book was written with the full cooperation of the White House. Just a few minutes ago, White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders attacked the author Michael Wolff's reputation for accuracy.
I think you have to look also at this author's track record in which he's had a real problem with this in the past. And I think that is something that has certainly laid a foundation for us to make the assumption that he is definitely, this is a practice that he is used to doing.
Yeah, but the time to make that assumption was before you agreed to cooperate with him. It's worth pointing out, Michael Wolff spent months listening and taking notes and recording and watching from West Wing couches at the invitation, or at the very least, as he says, the non-disapproval of President Trump himself. White House staffers cooperated. They're quoted all over the book. It's worth noting that the president's attorney is also threatening to sue Steve Bannon, the former confidant and senior strategist of the president's, to whom Wolff attributes much of his most scathing quotes. Now, the third fact here about this letter. Based on the president's track record, this threat of a lawsuit is almost certainly nothing more than an intimidation technique.
Oh, I always like to threaten to sue reporters because I think they're among the most dishonest people I've ever dealt with in my life.
Notice the key word there, threaten. Threaten to sue reporters. Wolff and his publisher are now in good company. President Trump has previously threatened to sue CNN, The Washington Post, The New York Times, The Associated Press, comedian Tom Arnold, a 92-year-old Scottish widow, reporter David K. Johnston, Art of the Deal co-author Tony Schwartz, Governor John Kasich, Senator Ted Cruz, and all of the women who accused him of sexual harassment and assault. And that's just a small sampling, and those are just lawsuits because of criticisms those people made about the president in public, to say nothing of his business deals. The president almost never actually follows through with these lawsuits, and it would be very difficult to win a libel suit, especially to block this book prior to publication, which will be tomorrow morning. Lastly, let's all take a step back here. It's remarkable that the President of the United States is in any way trying to stop publication of a book, breaching the right of free speech and freedom of the press that we have in this country, just because said speech, to be candid, hurts his feelings, not for a national security reason. In fact, from what we know about the president's furious response to this book, it seems that the quotes from Steve Bannon are what has upset him the most. The quotes. Although just a few minutes ago, White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders said this about the book.
In terms of the merits, I think it's pretty clear. I don't think we have been tiptoeing around our feelings on this. It's completely tabloid gossip full of false and fraudulent claims.
Tabloid gossip full of false and fraudulent claims. That's what she just said. Let's just take 1 second to note something. The man who during the campaign cited a supermarket tabloid, the National Enquirer, to ask why reporters weren't covering Ted Cruz's father's non-existent ties to the JFK assassination. That man, the very same person, is now objecting to tabloid gossip full of false and fraudulent claims. Now, Trump's lawyer's letter states that since, quote, the book admits in the introduction that it contains untrue statements, that it will not be difficult to prove actual malice, reckless disregard for the truth. Now, that introduction does state that, quote, many of the accounts of what has happened in the Trump White House are in conflict with one another. Many, in Trumpian fashion, are baldly untrue. Those conflicts and that looseness with the truth, if not with reality itself, are an elemental thread of the book. A very interesting observation in an introduction to a book that is a piece of nonfiction purportedly, but this is the fundamental problem here. If malice can be proven for Wolf, it can also be proven for President Trump and for all the president's men and women who cooperated with this book. My political panel is here with me to discuss all of this and much more.